Hi, everybody, and welcome to Just Saying. It is March 3rd, 2014, and cold as all get out. I'm Kim, and I'm joined here as I am every week by my lovely, vivacious, and sometimes,
Ornery.
yeah, honorary co host Mary. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Kim. You know what? How many people are proud to say that they're ornery?
Hey, I lived that life. I,
I know, that's fun. And you're absolutely right, it's cold. I want to
yeah.
know whatever happened to the old saying, March comes in like a lamb and out like a lion.
No, it's out in like a lion, out like a lamb.
Well, I always heard it was the opposite, in like a lamb, out like a lion. But in this case, it's coming in like a lion, and it better show up like a lamb real soon.
Right?
I think it'd be funny if we were taking a Monday off, like somewhere in like July, and this is the show that's played, and we're sitting here talking about how cold it is. Get the sweaters on, the whole 9 yards.
With the snowy background.
So you know what? You have something really cool to talk about. I do.
I do?
Well, you did something neat Saturday night.
Oh, our investigation, yeah. And anybody checking Facebook for pictures, you're not going to find any investigative pictures, just of us being a bunch of dorks. We had an investigation in Rusk, Texas. It was a private case, and Bryce Ponders and his wife Lynn and Martha Hazard Decker and Dee Cox, aka Wendy, were all there. And yeah, we actually were given the case by Lorraine Irby from Fort Mifflin. So yeah, I was honored.
Well, you know what's really cool about that is here you are in Texas, Lorraine's in Philadelphia, and the networking.
Yeah, and the fact that you remembered I was from Texas.
That's true. That's true.
Well,
That's
I've
good.
only technically met her in person once.
That's right. Yeah, but we've had her on the show twice, and
Right.
Lorraine's the kind of person if she remembers everybody, and so she was cool. I mean, she approached me, and she said, "Do you know anybody from Texas?" And I'm like, "Kim." She goes, "I thought she was, but I wanted to make sure." So she had a lot of confidence in you. I believe they were good friends of hers. So I know you made me proud out there.
They were very disappointed that Lorraine did not join us.
I would imagine. Although, I've investigated with Lorraine twice. Not for lengthy periods of time, but I'll tell you, she's very sensitive.
Is
I don't know
she?
how, yeah, I don't know how she does it being at Fort Mifflin all the time. But she does it. I guess you have to.
Yeah,
I,
but
I,
the kids thought she was going to be there, and their mom's trying to explain to them, she's in Pennsylvania. It was a little bit of a drive for her to get here.
hmm But you know what? If she could have, she would have. She was staying put in Philadelphia, bracing for this huge storm that was supposed to hit us.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that because when you do, I'll wake up tomorrow. But they were telling us, they being the weather people, were telling us that we were going to get 15 inches of snow, and of course everybody's piled at the store. I think that the bakers and the dairy farmers, they love this.
Right.
Oh, and like the chip people, Lay's potato chips and things like that, because you go to the shelves and they're wiped out. So they're loving this. But we ended up, and I'm seriously not complaining. We got maybe a dusting to an inch. I'll take it
Yeah,
compared to what we've been getting.
we
And I
got.
heard you had a rough time of it last night.
Oh, this weather is so stupid. Saturday it was like 84 degrees. On my way back from Rusk at 1 in the morning, it was like 72, 73. Wake up yesterday to 46, and by 6 o'clock last night, freezing rain, ice, the whole gamut. Of course, at 7, the power goes out till 3 in the morning. And it's supposed to be 70-something by Saturday again.
I sure hope we warm up here by the weekend. But the important thing is you got your power back and we're able to do the show tonight.
Yep.
And speaking of the show, do you want to do the intros of our guest?
Our guest this evening,
drum roll,
if I remember correctly, you may have to correct me, is the founder of Unknown Paranormal
of New York.
I was trying to remember which state there. We've actually met at the Shanley, and he's a bit of a techie guy,
to say the least.
Yeah, but that's okay because we really like him. Everybody meet Mike Buckley.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Mike.
Well, I've been lucky enough to meet him more than once. I've investigated with him a few times at the Shanley.
Oh, I love that place. I've been there probably 5 times now, and it gets better every time.
I'm trying to talk him into going the end of March.
He needs to.
Oh, I so want to go.
Well, we'll see. You want to know how much I like this guy, Kim? Seriously. You know, I told you from day one when we met him at the Lower Catskills Paracon last year. I love this guy. When I went to the Shanley, well, now this is going to make your head big. When I went to the Shanley in July last year, it was like a little birthday gathering for me, because I forget what we were doing on my birthday. I can't remember doing something. But I asked Sal if we could come up and celebrate my birthday like 2 weeks later, and I wanted to get a small group together. And I contacted Mike and I said, I would sure love if you could come. And he did. Him and I think you brought, is there a Jason?
I believe I brought Jeff and our camera guy Mark with us, and I bet you regretted inviting me down there afterwards.
Oh, yes. Well, that's the funny story that we were keeping from Kim. As you know, when I do my little get-togethers, I usually bring Marla Brooks in, and she's on my laptop. We call her the Witch in the Box. It's kind of like a little joke with us, and she does readings for everybody. Every time somebody was getting a reading, and he happened to walk by, Skype would go down, internet would go down. I couldn't even turn on my computer. It was horrible. And it got to the point where I kept saying, don't come near me. Get away. Stop. I mean, it was constant. And how many times, I think she gave you a reading, you kept getting cut off?
I think we tried maybe 3 times, and then we went to the phone, which then cut off as well.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And speaking of Lorraine Irby, Kim, we only had one show where we basically had to almost cut it off early because of technical difficulties. And it was the only show that Mike Buckley decided to tune in on. Did you remember we told him after that he was not allowed to come to our shows?
So if we lose him tonight, I should not be surprised.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, I'm watching your camera and you're getting psychedelic on me here.
Who, me?
Yeah, you. You were a minute ago. Go ahead, Mike. We were just cutting you up.
Well, that whole night, I was having trouble with my equipment as well. My handy cams were not working. I completely could not get my DVR to turn on at all that night. So that's why we never set the DVR up that night. And I basically had to swear at my recorders in order for them to work. So yeah, I don't know what it was, but...
I don't think I brought my cameras up there that night. We were going to use yours, if I'm not mistaken. And I mean, everything this man touched. I think if he went over to hit a switch on the wall to turn the light on the ceiling, you would have blew the bulbs. I mean, it was... I had
a brand new DVR system that was only used maybe twice, and I could not get the monitor to turn on for anything. So I eventually, after an hour, I said, you know what, forget about it.
Well, anyway, this is another year, and I thought, what the heck, let's take a chance and see if we can get through a show with you on it without everything blowing up, shutting down, people having issues. So we'll see how it goes.
Going smooth so far.
Yeah, shh, we won't say anything.
So from now on, instead of letting him in the building, we just put him up a tent out in the parking lot?
Well, I think didn't we set him up? Weren't you up in the third floor, away from everybody?
He was at the Paracon.
Yeah, the Paracon. He was up on the third floor.
Yeah,
we kept
air mattress. I slept in Joe's room, I believe it was.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, we didn't want him.
That's where I like to be.
Well,
that's where the action was.
We didn't know at the time that you were like tech destructive, or if we had a spare room, we might have let you be down with the rest of us. But it's probably a good thing he was up on the third floor, Kim.
Probably. We had enough goofiness. We had enough goofiness going on with that, messing with the electronics.
True. So, Mike, you are a founder of the Unknown Paranormal Society, located in New York, and this is a new group. You started it in 2012. One of the things that I like about your group, and if you don't mind, I'd like to read your mission statement, is taking a much deeper and different approach to studying and educate people on the history of locations, to find answers to the endless pile of unanswered questions about the paranormal and of things unknown, and to help people understand or find solutions to issues they may be having. Now, the one thing that I really love about that mission statement is the fact that you really want to educate people on historical locations. And I think that's important.
Yeah. That's one of my one of the reasons I got into it.
Do you have a tendency of being more drawn towards historical locations, or have you done any type of like private investigation for homes?
We do house calls. We definitely do house calls. People need help. I, of course, love going to historical landmarks. We really don't have a single thing that we focus on. We focus on any. The reason why I call it the Unknown Paranormal is, as in the mission statement, we really don't know a lot about the paranormal, even though people have been studying it for thousands of years. We really don't know too much. So the reason why I call it Unknown Paranormal is, well, for that reason.
Exactly.
We don't know much.
No, we don't. And as many teams that are out there, all the equipment that we have, how many hours of investigations that we've all put in, we're still after searching and looking.
Exactly. There's new questions asked every day, and it just goes into a giant pile, and you don't get answers. So I'd like to answer a few of those questions, get an answer to a few of those questions if I could.
Yep. Before the show earlier, I had sent you a message. I know you've been to quite a few places, and I asked you what your favorite was, and of course you said the Shanley, because we all love the Shanley. But I know one of the places that you've been to, I don't know how many times you've been there, but I know you've gotten a lot of evidence from there, is the Hinsdale House.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I can't say that it's my favorite place, but we have been there only one time. But I spend a considerable amount of time doing research before each case, and I researched for about 190 days before we went to the case. Learning about the house and the location and the histories and the claims behind the house, and there's something about the place. I just can't get enough of the place. We got so much evidence out of that one weekend there.
Were you the only team that was there?
Yes, we had the whole house for a whole Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh, great.
And it was really quiet for the first 2 days, and then third day, another group came in, to help us out. There's only, let's see, I think there were 6 of us there. And that's when the activity really picked up. And we got the best picture. We got a solid picture out of it that I look at it all the time because I love it.
What does it consist of?
It's kind of funny because I had hired a new investigator right before the case, and she couldn't go with us, but I sent her pictures to see what she could get out of the pictures, go through it, because we had our DVR running for the whole entire 72 hours we were there. Mm-hmm. So we had a ton of. I had to spread the evidence out between team members, and I gave her the pictures. I was about to throw the one picture out, and she said, "Well, look at the picture a little bit better." And it's actually on our Facebook page, I believe. It appears to be a young girl standing under a tree.
Yeah.
Just looking at us.
Now this is on the Unknown Paranormal Facebook page?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. Any personal experiences while you were there? I don't know a lot about the place, so you might have to give me a little bit of history on it.
Oh boy, the history would take hours. A lot of very tragic. The whole entire land has got a massive history of tragic, negative events, going all the way back to Indian burial grounds or mass killings of Indians, murders and sexual assaults in the house, bodies buried in the basement. I mean, there's a whole 600-year history of just nothing but negativity at the house. But the funny thing is, while we were there, it was the most peaceful feeling you could ever get. A couple of the investigators that was there said it was the best sleep they ever had while they were sleeping. And the funny thing is, the place they were sleeping in was the place where a seance and an exorcism supposedly happened. The same exact spot they were sleeping in is where they held an exorcism.
Oh, that's interesting. Is that the room? I went online and I saw that this gentleman was with, I believe, the husband at the time, and he went to go visit and he went into a certain bedroom and it got so cold he could actually see his breath. Was that the room where these exorcisms were taking place?
Not totally sure though. It was the living room of the house we were sitting in at the time. Okay. I mean, the house is just amazing. I'd love to go back.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. Hey, Kim, how come we haven't been there yet? Well, we know why you weren't there the one time.
Yeah, because the only time I've been formally invited was the weekend of the Lower Catskills Paracon.
Yep. Yeah, did you know that, Mike? That she had an invite to go there for an investigation, and it happened to be the weekend that we had the Paracon going on last year.
Oh, yeah. I don't really know if they're allowing people to go back there right now. I mean, really? I know it's the winter months. It's close to Buffalo, New York, so it's probably impossible to get to it at this point. But I'm not sure if they're allowing people to go there anymore.
Well, I know there's a bit of a turmoil, let's say, with the house at the moment. So I don't know whether or not they're actually letting people in there right now.
Yeah, I'm not totally sure. I'd like to go back this year, but we'll see. I got so many things planned this year that we'll see. I'll get back there at some point.
He does. He always manages to get somewhere. I tried to get him to go to Gettysburg, but he couldn't make it. So I'm going to get you to Gettysburg yet. I'm going to get you there yet. I promise.
I'll get there. It seems like every time I have a chance to go, I can't make it somehow.
I know. Well, at least I know for those times that you couldn't make it, my equipment was working fine. I'm sorry. I'm going to ride you on that one for a while.
So, Mike,
just don't make it rain when I get there. I don't know if you remember our Mifflin trip.
Oh yeah, Kim. He was with us for the storm of the century.
Oh Lord.
You know what? That could be a whole show in itself.
Actually, believe it or not, even though we didn't catch anything that night, that was my favorite case last year just for that. I'd say that we were in the biggest rainstorm in Pennsylvania history.
In over 100 years. And the joke of the whole thing was the fact that they said the storm centered over the Philadelphia International Airport, and the fort is
right there.
Right.
We could have
Like
blamed it on
7.8 inches of rain.
Oh, I know. And you ended up going into casemates, right?
Oh, it didn't stop us. Me and Jeff were like crotch deep in water half the time we were there.
I mean,
We were gone.
Kim, it was so bad. Even Wayne was telling us, don't walk into casemates because you know bricks get wet and
Right.
they get moldy, they get like slimy. And those two, where they go through the casemates. I couldn't
Jeff was
believe
like, Jeff and me were like, you know what? We're already wet. Let's just go.
I'm sorry, if you're at Fort Mifflin, you have to go in the casemates, especially 11. But you have to go in the casemates, and rain, snow, sleet, or hail. If that was Mike's first time there, then yeah, I don't blame him one bit.
Oh, it's like a 4.5 hour trip there for us, and it took about 8 hours for us to get there because of the rain and the flooding. I mean, the Jersey Turnpike was flooded in places. I'm like, you know what? After 8 hours, I'm gonna go in this thunderstorm. We're gonna go sit out in the rain and thunder and lightning.
Well, Mike, if it makes you feel any better, the one time I was there was the day before Hurricane Sandy hit.
Jesus.
Oh, you?
We're unlucky, I guess.
Well, since neither one of you know this, normally at Fort Mifflin, when you're there, it's like every 5 seconds an airplane goes overhead. And I think the day that Kim, when I took Kim there, what did we count, about 2 airplanes the whole time we were there?
I only remember one.
Because they were diverting the planes from Philadelphia. Here we are at Fort Mifflin. And then the next day we go traveling up to Gettysburg.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy. Every time we get together, though, there's always some kind of weather issue. So you were right at home. Maybe that was a sign, Mike, that you're part of our...
I'm an unlucky charm, I guess.
No, what she's saying is you're part of our crowd because it only rains on good people.
Well, I was going back into my cases over the last year, and out of the 6 major places we went, 5 of them no longer exist. I may be an unlucky charm.
Keep them away. Well, I have a friend of mine that we go out to dinner. Well, we used to go out to dinner like once a month, and every place we went out to eat, we would go back if we liked it. We try to go back and hear it closed. So we decided we'll just get takeout and eat in somebody's kitchen because it was the truth. We closed down like 6 restaurants, and they were really good too until we got there, and then that was it. They closed. So I feel your pain.
Well, I would like to mention that the one time we did have great weather was the Con. With all of us there, it didn't rain.
Yeah, that's true. We the next day after all the bad stuff, we drove up to Fort Mifflin and it was the Shanley, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, but there was its own storm brewing in there.
Yeah. So, okay. Your favorite piece of equipment? I always ask everybody this.
You know, I'm not really a tech buff. I don't like going and getting those new pieces, you know. I don't mess with the high-tech recorders. My favorite recorder is a $36 recorder from Walmart. It's the best one I got. I think my favorite piece of equipment, and I'm going to sound like an old man here, is a cassette recorder. I still use a cassette recorder. And I think that piece of equipment has gotten more EVPs than anything else that I own.
You know, you're not the first person that I've heard that from. somebody I used to investigate all the time. She had every kind of audio device you could think of, but her favorite was the cassette.
Yep. Well, when we're actually.
What is that? Mary!
And we'll call Mary right back. You still there, Mike?
Yeah, what's going on?
We have no idea.
No, you didn't do it. You didn't do it. It was Mary.
See what happened? You shouldn't have had me on. Breaking face.
All right, how long do we get? Oh, well, we got 27 minutes so far in the show before you did anything.
Hey, so I think that's a record, right?
Mark the calendar.
Oh, jeez. So what were you saying?
What were we talking about?
Favorite
recorders.
piece of equipment, yeah.
I have probably, let's say 10, 15 different recorders, and I noticed the expensive ones, we don't catch anything. The cheaper the recorder, the more of the white noise on the recorder, that's the best kind of recorders. But we'll be on a case, we'll be investigating a room, and I always bring 2 different recorders with me. Those cheap little recorders are the only things that catches solid EVPs.
Well, we had a couple on that were considered pretty much experts in the EVP field, and that's exactly what they said. The cheaper ones from Walmart work a lot better than the expensive ones.
Yep. Those expensive recorders filter out a lot of the background noises. We need the background noises to hear what these things have to say, you know?
Exactly. You know, when I was in Gettysburg a few weeks ago, and I'm making a statement that's going to be a question. It's the first time, I can do it too first. It was the first time that I actually left a recorder out, just to leave it out. There's this huge room. Well, it's not too huge. It's like their living room that they have. And I just put my recorder on the center of the table and just let it run the whole night. Because I'm finding now, through other investigators, the chatter that you pick up amongst your chatter amongst yourselves, that they're like listening to you and they're adding comments, but you're not paying attention because you're not doing a EVP session. So I devoted one of my audio recorders, just leaving it there, because in this room, it's almost like the great room at the Shanley Hotel. You know, in between rotations and stuff, you kind of go in there and sit and talk and, oh, what'd you do, and blah, 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 and have your little sidebar conversation. I haven't listened to it yet, which shame on me, because I should have listened to it by now. But it'd be interesting to see what I was able to pick up. Have you ever done that?
Every case, we'll pick different rooms and we'll leave stationary recorders. I usually leave a laptop and leave the recorder on the laptop on throughout the night in a certain room. And I noticed I think the last time we were at the Shanley, when I was screwing up your equipment, I had accidentally left a recorder upstairs in the toy room, which when we went back through to check stuff out and pick up all our equipment the next morning, there's about 8 hours of audio on the recorder, which I have to admit I haven't gone through the whole thing yet, but you can hear stuff moving around. And, you can hear like balls rolling around on the floor when you know there's nobody up there. It was the only thing we caught that night.
Yeah, that is strange. I, as you know, and Kim will verify it, and everybody that's ever investigated with me, I'm a tech-tard. And it's probably why Kim and I get along so well, because she's one too.
Yep.
I know how to turn things on, and I know how to turn things off. And don't ask me how they work, but I had my husband show me how to use it. Just, same way with my camera. I put one of my recorders up in Joe's room for the night. And unbeknown to me, I hit the switch where it was activated with sound. In other words, it's not running the whole time. Mm-hmm. It only turns on when sound occurs. And it went off, I think it was like 27 times, something like that.
Yep.
And the noises, I played it for Kim when we were on Skype, like, listen to this, you're not going to believe this. But it sounded like the room was being tore apart. Hammering, banging. And one of the people that were with us slept in Marguerite's room, which is diagonally underneath that area. And she had said to me the next morning, what in the name of God was going on upstairs? It sounded like somebody was tearing the room apart. I mean, it sounded like sledgehammers were being banged and smacked around. Then you hear the occasional car go by. But it was crazy, and you're absolutely right. When you get to listen to your recording, you're going to hear a lot of things.
Right. I think we're in the same field because I'm a really good person when it comes to audio, but anything other than that, forget about it. The reason we don't have a website yet is because I don't know how to make a website.
At least you're thinking about it. I might have mentioned it once. Hey, Kim, let's get a website. Okay. That's about as far as we got. I know, I'm
only 27.
You're what?
I'm only 27, but people tell me I'm a senior citizen when it comes to electronics.
Too funny. So, your group, how many members do you have?
There's 8 of us all together. I like to keep it kind of small. We actually haven't had a full team investigation yet. I haven't been able to bring anybody to a full, like a place where we could bring all 8 members. I think it's better smaller,
Yeah.
I don't like bringing a huge army on cases,
Well, especially if you have a newer team, and I know that you've brought in a few new people. I know back in July, I think one of Jeff that you brought in, isn't he fairly new in the group?
Jeff has a little bit of experience, but we have a couple of us that know what we're doing. Then there's a couple of us that don't know anything, which I think is good to have a diversity. I have a guy named Jim on our team. He's been doing it for 25, 30 years, I think.
Mm-hmm. I haven't met him unless, was he at the Paracon with you?
No, that was Charlie.
Okay, I have not met him.
He's a novice too.
Kim?
I think it's good to have like new people come in. They don't know what they're expecting.
Yeah, when I first started out, I was with Mark, and you met Mark Sarah
Yep.
up at the Shanley. We really, I was brand new. I didn't know anything about paranormal investigating. I used to like to sit home and watch ghost hunters. That was my experience. What is your experience? Well, I've seen every episode of Ghost Hunters. Does that qualify to be part of a group? But he took a chance, and I got involved, and I became case manager, events coordinator, and I also worked with one of the other senior members on bringing new people into the group. And sometimes it works out a lot better when you have brand new people coming into the group, because you can train them the way you want to investigate, or if you feel you're doing it the proper way. It's kind of nice. I mean, it's also good to get some experienced investigators in there too, because if you go on an investigation, you got all these greenhorns, or I was called Miss Fly, because I was new in the beginning. That was my name, Miss Fly. You don't have to really worry about the seasoned investigators, but the new ones. But it's positive getting new ones.
Right, exactly. I think we filtered through about 5 members last year. I brought them onto the team, and then they decided they couldn't do it. And it was funny. It's kind of funny. when they first start out, they're like, "Oh, this is the coolest thing ever." Like they've seen the shows and they've seen the entertainment side of it, which is cool. But then when they finally do it, they're like, I actually had one girl go after her first case, "This is actually kind of boring."
That's true.
Well, that's because it doesn't all happen in 30 minutes.
Right.
No,
It's a good thing, though, because they're seeing what exactly we do. I mean, that's another reason why I wanted to start this group, is because a lot of people just see the TV shows and they're like, well, this is cool, let's just grab a recorder and, go out in the cemetery. That's what they're doing. But
right.
there's so many things behind it, like behind the scenes, that you don't see,
Right.
Like if you run your voice recorder 8 hours, you have to listen to 8 hours.
Oh my God, the DVR with Hinsdale. Oh my God, that was the most grueling thing I've ever been through.
Yeah, they watched.
We had 72 hours of audio between 4 cameras, so do the math on that one.
Yeah, they watch the TV shows and bam, 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 it's done. They're not realizing each piece of equipment you have to go through every second of every minute.
Right. I've had personal, private client cases where they're like calling me the next morning, like, "What happened? How come we haven't heard from you?" I'm like, would you like to go over some of the audio for me?
Yeah, it's funny. I was, I think it was back in Gettysburg. I always do a little thing with people that come to these events, but mostly they're people that have never, ever investigated before. And the only experience they have is, like I said, they're home watching it on television. And in an hour's time, they get the phone call to go to the place, find out the information about the place, go there, and in between commercial breaks, all of their equipment gets set up. They do some investigation, a couple more commercial breaks, and they have all their evidence ready to go. And so I tell these people it's not like that. And most of these people arrive early, and they see exactly what's involved in setting up equipment. And we have a ton of equipment. It's more than just our IR cameras. We've got Mark that's got his big production studio thing going on. And then, most of our events, they're all sleepovers. So the cameras are running. So we've got 4 IR cameras running for at least a minimum of 12 hours. So there's 48 hours of footage. Plus we have 2 mobile cameras that follow us around. And Mark's added on, maybe Eric can help me out with this one. It's that thing that looks like a graph. It's got the dots. I don't know what that's called.
Equalizer?
What's it called?
An equalizer?
Oh, I don't know. All I know is on the screen, on the monitor, it looks like there's dots all over it. So if something walks in front of it,
Oh, the
dots
connect?
get...
The connect?
That's the grid.
The grid, yeah.
Oh.
That's it. So we have, say, a total of 7 now cameras that are running on the 12 hours each. That's not going to happen in a few hours at nighttime to review. You can't possibly, and you can't look at it just once. Sometimes we have to look at it 2 and 3 times, and I've even looked at it a 4th time to see if, because if you blink, you can miss something that quick. So, and then of course, you take people outside in a snowstorm, cold weather, basement. You don't feel that effect when you're sitting home eating popcorn watching the show. It's different. So they get an education real quick on what this stuff is all about.
Yeah. I mean, I like the shows like everybody else do. I mean, I watch them every week they're on, but there's just so many things that they leave out that people don't understand,
That's true.
Well, do you find yourself now, instead of just sitting patiently and watching the show, do you find yourself yelling at them now and telling them what they're doing wrong?
I don't, obviously you can do it there's wrong ways of, doing what we do, but I don't think there's any wrong way to do it. You know, every team has their own like little thing that they do differently than another group. I mean, that's the beauty of not knowing anything about the paranormal. There's no book that you can read that tells you exactly how to do it, and that's the right way to do it, you know. So, I mean, I think the shows have helped, I think, in a way to get people to like focus. Because before the shows came up, we were kind of like labeled as weirdos, you know. We were people you stayed away from. When the shows showed up, people said, "Oh, that's kind of cool." I mean, I think it made it easier for us to get locations to investigate.
Oh, I absolutely agree there. I'm talking like, say you go to Hinsdale, and then you'll see them on TV, and they're quoting the history wrong, or they're in a room where you have to show respect, and they're sitting there provoking. I find myself just like screaming at the TV and throwing stuff at it. Are you crazy?
I absolutely hate provoking. It's my number one rule for people on my team. Never provoke anything. You don't know what they're capable of. You know what I mean?
Right.
Provoking.
Well, we don't like to provoke, that's for sure.
No.
Yep. I have a question for you. It's going to be another statement with a question that follows. I'm getting good with those things. You know, I want to go back to Gettysburg again because it was most recent. But when we were there last, it was, I guess, about 3 weeks ago, Robin Marie joined us. Now, you remember Robin from the Paracon?
Yes, yep.
Okay, all right. Well, she joined us, and it's the first time I've ever experienced this. But, you know, people go to Gettysburg, they go to Fort Mifflin for Civil War, the soldiers, because the casemates, they were the prison cells for the soldiers back during that war. So you go to the Shanley, and everybody concentrates on the gangsters. But let's talk a little bit about the Gettysburg thing, which I found was very, very interesting. Gettysburg, the battle was 3 days. And everybody concentrates when they do the investigations on those 3 days. Okay? Well,
right.
This time around, now we had Robin go around, and the first room that she went into, she got this really, she was, picking up, she was channeling all these different spirits, and the one thing that she got, she says, this woman just like came up and she said she's from the kitchen. And she's going on to say about, she's got a grater there, and she's saying she's grating fresh horseradish, and she just couldn't get it out there enough about this horseradish. Well, we find out later on when we went downstairs for a break that Florence, who owns the Battlefield Bed and Breakfast, she was making us some warm appetizers, and one of the dips called for horseradish, and she couldn't find it. And she thought she had it. Well, this spirit was down in the kitchen, and she came up and ratted her out to Robin. Now, that's something you can't make up. I mean, why would Robin be thinking about horseradish up on the second floor, and this woman's in another room down on the first floor? Okay, but that's how the whole night went. It had nothing to do with the Battle of Gettysburg. And it occurred to me, here we go into these places, and we concentrate on a specific time. But this farmhouse was built in 1806. And when was the battle fought? Was it like 1886 or something? I always forget that date. Kim, do you remember the Battle of Gettysburg, the date?
No.
Not off the top of my head.
I'm thinking it was like 80, I want to say 83 to 86. It was 3 years.
Well, whatever. It was somewhere in that time. And we have a tendency to forget when we go into these places that other people live there. Other things occurred other than just this period of time. So let's just say you go over to the Shanley. Do you concentrate on one particular time frame, or do you broaden things?
Well, I mean, obviously you the information that you're given and try to use it while you're investigating. I'll try to think of an example here. We did a private client house, and the only thing the guy knew that was that there was a murder in the basement of the house. Some guy murdered his daughter or something like that in the basement of the house. So he wanted us to focus on the basement, which had been redone into like a living area. And me and one of the other investigators that were there, we ended up sitting down on the couch. And I mean, we obviously have in our mind that we're thinking about this girl that got murdered. She's there, you know. We want to contact her. We're trying to contact her. And as we're sitting there, we feel like an impression on the couch. And it's obviously obvious. As soon as we felt that impression, we knew it was a little kid. We actually felt like a 1 or 2 year old kid like pull itself up on the couch. Now there was no claims of like a little baby dying or a little baby death. So yeah, I mean, you go in you never know what to expect when you're out on a case.
Right.
Like you said, there's other stories other than the stories that you're given.
Well, you know, the reason why I brought that up is because we're so focused on one particular time. But Robin went in there with a very open agenda, okay? I mean, she doesn't know what's going to come forward and talk to her. And I think that the spirits at that B&B, the original farmhouse portion, which is where we were, realized, hey, here's somebody that can listen to us. We're going to let it roll. And the whole night was things that I've been there, what can you say, about 12, 15 times I've been to that place?
At least.
Okay? And Mike, this is the first time that we got anything that, you know, it was everything other than related to the Battle of Gettysburg. I mean, it was an awesome investigative night to pick up all these different spirits that were coming and going that were part of that farm and not part of the battle. So I think it depends on who you're with. You know, all the things that, you know, you leave yourself open to be able to pick this stuff up. And the cool thing, and Robin just posted in the chat room, was everything that she said was confirmed the next day by the owner of the B&B. I mean, yeah. It was just crazy. So, you know, I think if you go into an investigation, you're a little bit more, you're not in that little box of things. You know, you're outside the box and you leave it open. How much more you can pick up? I mean, because like, you know, getting back to the Shanleys, you know, there were many more things that went on there besides Prohibition. Right. It went through 6 to 8 wars. Yet everybody that goes there focuses on the Civil War. And yet we're finding out now people are getting evidence of pirates. So, you know,
Irish mob.
Yeah. As part of being investigators, think outside of the box.
Well, I think some of the locations, like Gettysburg, it's known for the wars.
Right.
With the Shanley Hotel, we know there were more layers to it, and that's what Patty and Robin and Dee and the rest, and Tracy and the rest of them were saying, that there are so many layers that the Shanley's like an onion. But when you think Gettysburg, you think Civil War. So I think it depends on the building where you focus.
I mean, when you think about the Shanley, I mean, back in the day, what did people do? They would ride down the street on their horse or walk down the street and come right in the door. And then they'd leave the next day, or, you know, there was constant flow of people coming in and out of that building. Why wouldn't it still be like that, you know?
Well, right, and I mean, there's a story of the stables, and, you know, Eleanor Roosevelt being there, and then the bordello and Rosie, and there are so many layers that you really can't focus on just one era.
Right.
But like Gettysburg, they tend to focus on the war.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think somebody told me a story. They thought there was a portal, like some kind of portal at the Shanley, but I think they're overthinking it. I mean, why couldn't it be some ghosts are coming and then they're leaving? You know, they're still using it as a bordello and a hotel, you know?
Right.
Yeah, you know, Kim's got theories on residual. Everybody's got different theories on things, and you know, and that's why we're still doing what we're doing. We're still trying to find out what exactly is going on in all these places.
Yep. Researching the unknown. That's why I called it that.
What do you think about spirits that talk to one another from different time eras? Do you think it's possible?
You know, I'm going to go back to the Hinsdale on this one. It was a very heavily populated area for Native Americans, and the next time I go back, I have about 6 pages worth of the language that they used to speak in that area, and I'm going to try to, you know, speak their language, because I don't, like, at the Shanley, there was Irish that ran the place. Why would we think that they talk the way we, you know what I mean? Why would we think they talk the same as us?
That's true. And you know, was it Michael Esposito, Kim, we had on a few weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you really need to, if you don't have him on your Facebook, Mike, you need to look him up. He actually painstakingly takes time, and he makes up CDs, sound effects, music, any sounds that you would hear during that particular time in history.
Right.
In other words, if we're at Gettysburg and he wants to make the sounds of cannons, he'll go to the reenactors and everything that have the exact cannons that were fired during the Battle of Gettysburg.
Right.
And you'll hear that in the background to try and promote paranormal activity.
He did that with OSPH. He went back and found the actual equipment used at that specific time when the hospital was open to get the proper bells and whistles and beeps and blips and everything else. And there's a CD out on that one.
Right.
So how
When we
cool
were-
is that? You know?
I think when we were at the Shanley convention back last year, I believe it was Eric. He gave me a sound effect of a old EKG machine,
Yes.
and I have. If we get a chance to go back to Rolling Hills this year, which is on my agenda, I have a giant speaker that's going to be blaring that down the hallway.
That soundtrack is the one Michael Esposito made for OSPH.
Right.
So in basically any hospital that was open from the 60s to the 90s, that would be a perfect era cue for.
Right. We've used older music, like, you know, we'll play Sinatra at a place if, you know, it's that time period. We definitely try to, you know, I don't like to call it provoking, but we're trying to conjure up a, you know, conversation with them, you know.
I don't think playing music is provoking. I think it's... I think it would be a happy time for them, bringing back, you know, some happy memories.
Right.
Well, you know what? I hate to do this. I'm looking at the time. And it's time for us to wind down our show. Mike, I can't believe how fast the hour went.
I know.
Yeah, it's been good. I'm really glad. And I only lost contact for one time. Of course, I better keep quiet. As we're saying goodbye, we just go and we're out altogether. But no, thank you so much. What does your team have up and coming?
Let's see, May 3rd, we're going to be at the Fort William Henry in Lake George, New York, at the Para History Con 2. Last year was a blast. We got a table set up. We're going to show off some pictures and some of the audio that we caught last year. And I have a couple of interesting things to show people. It's a great event. You can come talk to us. There's going to be a couple of members there.
Cool. I wish I was going. I know you were trying to talk me into joining you, but I'm not budging in May. I'm awaiting the arrival of my first grandchild in May, so I'm going to be MIA for a while there.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. And how can anybody get a hold of you?
I am strictly Facebook right now, so I can get smart enough to make a website.
Okay. Well, we want to thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully I'll get to see you March 29th at the Shanley. And if not, we will catch up with one another. I know you've got something planned, and you asked me to it, and I'll do my best to get there. So thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you,
Thank
Mike.
you very much.
All right. You take care.
You too.
All right. Well, next week we have a different type of show planned for us, don't we?
We really do, but it's a happy kind of different.
Yeah, it's a public. It's a PSA. It's not a public service announcement type show.
Right?
Right. Next week, joining us will be Maureen Haroon and Patty Zakis, and we decided to actually do a show on negativity and how people and their negativity, how it affects you. So if you've got people in your life that just bugs you, that makes your day go from this to this, you want to join us next week. Also, on my end, anybody interested, there are a few spots left at the Shanley Hotel. We've got an overnight investigation going on March 29th. If you're interested, www.shanleyhotel.com. Click on the event tab and scroll down to March 29th. And hopefully we'll see you there. Kim?
Coming up after us, well, within an hour, please come back or sit and watch the great craziness that Eric has set up, is Miss Arwen, who is always great. And join us every night for live shows. And don't we have Mr. Tim Yancey joining us this coming Sunday?
Well, that hasn't been completely finalized, but yes. But tomorrow night, starting on her very first show, Miss Helene Marks with Intuitive Goddess will be on tomorrow night after Shannon and Paranormal Live. So come join us and help her celebrate her first show.
Cool.
Yeah, what he said.
Oh, and one more thing before we go. For all your metaphysical needs, for the coolest clothing that's out there.
And some great candles.
You want to go to?
MetallunaBoutiqueandStones.com.
Awesome. And with that...
And Mary's holding her sand angel she got from there.
Yeah, that was my sand angel.
But I should tell you, there's no more available. Mary got the last one.
Woohoo. Neener. All right, with that, I think we're done. Well, now we're officially done because Sammy's making her an appearance.
Yes. And with that, we are out of here. Have a great night, and thank you all so much for joining us this evening.
See you next week.